fearless as the day you sailed with the Skull Rock podcast. Proceed at your own risk and mark well me words, ladies. Dead men tell no tale.
Welcome to Skull Rock Podcast, a show about all things Disney and pop culture. Every week, we take you behind the scenes of some of your favorite Disney films, theme park attractions, performances, books, music, as well as what's streaming, what's in theaters, and what's happening in this universe of entertainment. I'm Aljon Go, lifelong Disney, Marvel, Star Wars fan, and pop culturist. And you can email me, Aljon, ALJON, at skullrockpodcast.com.
And I'm Dave Bossert, artist, filmmaker, author, and road tripper this week. Welcome to the Skull Rock Podcast. If you love Disney and pop culture, please subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. You can also like and follow us on Facebook, X, Blue Sky, Instagram, LinkedIn, and on our very own Skull Rock YouTube channel. You can also email me at dave@skullrockpodcast.com. Aljon, happy Easter.
Happy Easter, Dave.
Did you have a great weekend?
It was good. You know, we had a little bit of a storm, but other than that, the sun was shining. The storm came by at night, so it wasn't really too bad. And the kids are happy with all the Easter egg hunts and getting high on jelly beans. So that's what they're doing.
That's fantastic. You know, I mean, they bounce off the walls and then they crash from the sugar high.
At 100% they do. Yes. They're like rubber balls for sure.
Well, I think that storm that rolled through you hit us on Sunday night.
My goodness me.
Which is fine. You know, rain is not bad. It wasn't a terrible storm. But we have a great show.
Yes.
We've got part 3 of our Tim Landry and Jerry Rees interview. And that, I have to say, we've been getting a lot of great feedback from, lots of people commenting on social media. And, last week we had a burst of emails, no emails this week.
I think things are kind of calmed down. It's the holiday season, so people are enjoying
spring break, right?
It's spring break. Yeah, it's spring break. You know, you got Easter happening, so people are just chilling out with the Easter Bunny and celebration. So yeah, it's all good. But the Tim and Jerry show is very entertaining, and I'm glad our listeners are digging. So
yeah, no, absolutely. And just to move us along, because we have a lot of business here, I talked with Arnie Leibovit, who many of our listeners may remember from the show we did about the Puppetoons.
Yes.
And he's got a special screening happening in Southern California. It's the day the Earth stood still, restored print. It's a screening that's happening in Santa Ana. And I did a quick little interview with him. So let's roll that, and then we'll play the trailer for the day the Earth stood still.
Sounds good.
Hey, Aljon, we've got Arnold Leibovit on the phone. Arnie is a friend of the Skull Rock Podcast. We've had him on before talking about the Puppetoons. And Arnie, welcome back to the Skull Rock Podcast, and tell us about this screening that's happening in a couple weeks.
It's good to be here, and I wanted to let everybody know that on April 18th at the Frida Cinema in Santa Ana, California, about 10-15 minutes from Disneyland, the theater is showing the 75th anniversary screening of The Day the Earth Stood Still, along with 2 restored Puppetoons on screen in full Technicolor, as well as an appearance by the Gort robot from The Day the Earth Stood Still, the 8-foot Gort robot.
Can't even believe I'm going to miss this, because I'm going to be on the East Coast, because I would have done anything to have my picture taken with Gort.
And it's the first time this has ever happened. As far as I know, I've done a little research on this. No one's really ever done this before at a screening. First of all, very few people have actually seen The Day the Earth Stood Still on a movie screen. Very few people. I haven't even seen it on a movie screen. It's been restored by Disney. Disney owns the film now because it's a Fox film. It's been restored. And having a Gort there at the same time at a screening, it's like unheard of. So it's like the first time this has ever really happened, and I think that's amazing. And it's the 75th anniversary. I'm also doing a 5 o'clock pre-screening of the Puppetoon movie A Legacy Revisited, which is the new documentary I just finished, which you, Dave Bossert, were involved in helping coordinate some
I,
things for
I
me.
I did step in to help you, Arnie, as I always do, in getting a couple of people on camera for you. And I'm looking forward to seeing the finished documentary because I haven't even seen it yet. So, all right, tell us one more time, where's the theater? What time, what day, and how do people get their tickets?
Well, they go to the freedacinema.org, I believe. And it could be .net, .org, but Frida Cinema, look up Frida Cinema, Day the Earth Stood Still, and you get to the main page, and you'll probably have something maybe under the screen, or maybe you'll include something in your on your
Yeah,
webpage.
we're gonna put a link to it in our show notes. I'll make sure that we get that in there. But it's Saturday, April 18th at the Frida Cinema in Santa Ana. It's the 75th anniversary of the day the Earth stood still, which is fully restored. 75th anniversary. It's crazy. I mean, this is an opportunity of a lifetime to see a classic film like this on the big screen, which I think is awesome. And I wish I was in Los Angeles for this, but I'll have to catch the next screening.
Well, I've been
Uh,
doing quite a few of these special sci-fi screening. Now, one of the reasons I'm doing it is I was a friend of Robert Wise, who directed the film. He was a mentor of mine, as I was a friend of George Powell, which is why I show the Puppetoons as well, and I'm doing the Puppetoons. So there's that connection. I try to tie some of these things in with these various things that I'm doing. So it is very exciting. Frida Cinema is a wonderful repertoire theater in Santa Ana. They show a wonderful array of films. Their audiences are amazing. So people can find it very easily online. If you just look it up, you'll be able to see it. It's well promoted. I think people will be able to find it. Tickets are selling quickly now. They tend to sell out. I mean,
I
people,
know. I've been to screenings for the Time Machine and George Powell's Time Machine and stuff. I know that these theaters presentations sell out because they're few and far between, and they are incredible experiences for movie-going audiences. I can't stress that enough. So we're going to put a link in our show notes. And Arnie, I want to say thank you very much for being on the Skull Rock podcast.
We interrupt this program to give you a bulletin just received from one of our naval units at sea. A large object traveling at supersonic speed is headed over the North Atlantic toward the east coast of the United States.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Drew Pearson. We bring you this special radio-television broadcast in order to give you the very latest information on an amazing phenomenon, the arrival of a space ship in Washington. The Army has taken every precaution to meet any emergency which may develop. Just a minute, ladies and gentlemen, I think something is happening.
I came here to give you these facts. But if you threaten to extend your violence, this earth of yours will be reduced to a burned out cinder.
But he's a robot. Without you, what could he do?
There's no limit to what he could do. He could destroy the earth. All vehicles, close in. Let's go.
All right. There was a trailer. There was a little leave of it action.
Yeah, and again, the link for the screening is in our show notes, and I just want you all to know that Gort, the robot from The Day the Earth Stood Still, is going to be, as Arnie said, is going to be at the theater in Santa Ana. So
Unbelievable.
I just think it's fantastic. So check that out.
Unbelievable. One of my favorite films growing up for sure. And looking forward to seeing it lovingly restored.
Yeah, and you know something? It's really an iconic film from the 1950s sci-fi era.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Yep.
Next up, I just want to plug a Kickstarter. We normally don't do this, but I want to do this for legendary animation, just prolific animator, Bill Plimpton. He's been nominated for multiple Academy Awards. He's won a slew of awards for his short films. He's done 9 features by himself that he's animated. I mean, the guy is just absolutely amazing. And he's basically hooked up with a band called Average Friends to do their debut single, You Know I Love You. And he's going to do it as an animated short to their song. And they have a Kickstarter going on. We put the link in the show notes. We're a little late to the game here because I only found out about this last week, right? So the link is there, but it's expiring tomorrow, Tuesday, right?
Yes.
So if anybody's interested, there's some great perks. You could actually get a beautiful color caricature by Bill Plimpton, custom.
I think that's
like a once in a lifetime opportunity, quite frankly.
Worth the price of admission for sure.
Yeah. So check out that link, and there's a little video on the Kickstarter page that explains the whole thing. And then literally, if you can spare $5 or $10, or if you could do 100 or 500, I mean, whatever you want to do, I would say go check it out because there's some incredible perks associated with that. So I just wanted to give a plug to Bill Plimpton. He's going to be, by the way, I don't necessarily like to tip our hand, but he is going to be a guest on the Skull Rock podcast at a later date. Okay.
There you go. That's perfect. I love it. Well, now it is Poetry Month. And what would be Poetry Month without a check-in with our poet laureate, Matt Mason?
Our Skull Rock poet laureate.
Hello, Dave and Aljon. It's great to be back on the Skull Rock podcast. Happy National Poetry Month. Last time I was here, I did poems from At the Corner of Fantasy in Maine, which is the only award-winning book of Disneyland poetry ever published, as far as I'm aware. So thank you, Old Mill Press. This time I want to bring a poem for Aljon, though. My book after that is called Rock Stars, and it's mostly poems about 80s rock, and Aljon knows a thing or two about 80s rock. This one is a poem that, I feel like sometimes I have to explain because I go into schools with this poem, and it's about the song Rapture by Blondie. And then these high school kids, they're like, who's Blondie? Who's Debbie Harry? So hopefully your listeners will get this a little better. But this poem, and I'm sure they will, this poem is called Rapture. Is the best song by Blondie. It makes you feel like there's no other choice but to raise your arms up and shake your feet. Even the Man from Mars, Eating Cars, disco rap, weird bits, all of it. Debbie Harry's voice swoons to a command, the piper playing to the wicker basket of cobras, and inhibitions be damned. Though when you hear it in a Chipotle in your 40s, seated across from your 9-year-old daughter, you realize there are limitations to enchantments, to how much you can get away with shaking, that once you could let it all go and who would care, could carpe all the damn diem you dare, and in this chain burrito experience, in this age of graying hair, this rapture, where while gravity holds you tight to your chair, all around you, others are lifted one by one into the air. Happy National Poetry Month, everybody. Go out and celebrate accordingly. Buy books of poetry. Hug a poet. Give churros to a poet. Write a poem. Do it all and have a great one.
Love
Another
it.
good one with Matt. I love it. Good stuff.
Absolutely. I just love it. And that was for you, Aljon. You know,
Thanks.
I mean, as he said, that was, you know, some 80s rock.
I love it. You know, Matt's got a 80s rock inspired poetry book that I've got. It is wonderful. Please go check it out. Link will be in the show notes for sure.
Pam, have you know, she wrote this great review of my poetry book.
That's my pick.
I read a great review.
Your girlfriend got a great review.
Oh, that's my pick, too. Sorry.
Excuse me while I start the projector.
Skull Rock Podcast, Picks of the Week.
All right, Dave. What have you been checking out this week?
Well, I got to tell you, I finally got a chance to see Sisu, Road to Revenge.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. You know, I gushed about the first Sisu movie that came out, and I think it was in 2022.
I know, right?
I gushed about that movie. I just absolutely loved it. And this is the follow-up, Sisu, Road to Revenge. The synopsis is Corpy, the main character, dismantles the house where his family was murdered and loads it on a truck to rebuild it somewhere safe. He soon finds himself in a violent cross-country chase as the Red Army commander who killed his family comes back to finish the job.
I love
This is a high body count movie, Aljon, and very inventive in how they off people, I have to tell you. Now, the main character, Corpy, is played by Jorma Tommila, who is a Finnish actor who has not one word of dialogue in this movie. Not one word. He does not utter a word in the entire film.
I
But
love it.
you can read what he is feeling and thinking on his face. He's that good. Absolutely amazing. The villain is Stephen Lang, who you've seen in many movies and television shows. He plays Igor Dragunov, the psychopath. Richard Blake is in this as well. He plays a Red Army commander. And Richard Blake, you may remember if you watch Mayor of Kingstown, he played the leader of a neo-Nazi prison gang in, I think it was season 2 or season 3. Anyway, it's a very small cast, I have to tell you, but it is fantastic. Just a great movie. They just keep ratcheting up the tension. And I thoroughly enjoyed this. Rotten Tomatoes gives it 93%. IMDb 6.8 out of 10. 78% of people like this movie. You can catch it on Netflix now. Okay.
Love it.
So on the small screen, I started watching a couple of episodes of a new series from CBS called CIA. It's a 1-hour crime drama centered on two unlikely partners, a fast-talking, rule-breaking, loose-cannon CIA caseworker, and a by-the-book, seasoned and smart FBI agent who believes in the rule of law. When this odd couple are assigned to work out of CIA's New York station, they must learn to work together to investigate cases and criminals posing threats on U.S. soil, finding that their differences may actually be their strengths. So this is a Dick Wolf show. You know, Dick Wolf is just a prolific producer of these types of shows. Really well done. Nick Gafuse plays Bill Goodman, and Tom Ellis, Colin Glass, the two main characters. Really well done. I've enjoyed it. It's only got 63% on Rotten Tomatoes, 6.1 out of 10 on IMDb. Check it out on. I watched it, I think, through Prime, but it's on Paramount Plus. It's a CBS show, so you can check that out. And then I watched the new Taylor Sheridan series called The Madison, a heartfelt study of grief and human connection following a New York City family in the Madison River Valley of central Montana. It stars Michelle Pfeiffer and Kurt Russell. Who doesn't like Kurt Russell? Right?
And what a great cast already.
Yeah. I mean, Kurt Russell, who stars in Monarch over at Apple TV, right?
Yes.
Which is a fantastic show. Elle Chapman plays one of their daughters. Matthew Fox is in this. It's, an ensemble cast. I have to say, it's a little slow out of the gate, but what I loved about this show, Aljon, is the cinematography in Montana. It is, I mean, the locations are absolutely stunning, okay? And I don't want to give away too much, but again, it's a Taylor Sheridan show. Rotten Tomatoes right now gives it 61%. IMDb gives it 8 out of 10. And 60% of people who watched the show liked it. So you could check that out on Paramount Plus, or you can get it through Prime if you have Paramount Plus through Prime, however you want to do it. Or I think you can watch it on CBS. So it's a well done show, I think. And again, the cinematography is beautiful. So you can check that out. So that's what I've been watching, Aljon. What have you been watching?
I love that. I finally checked out Goat, Dave.
Okay.
It was I will tell you that it was a family movie weekend, being that it is a 3-day weekend for a lot of people. So we finally checked out Goat, and I can tell you that it did not disappoint. I think there is a reason why animated films about animals are doing so well on the heels of Zootopia, the largest blockbuster of a film that Disney put out of all time. And this seems to me like it's on its coattails for good reason. It's got a lot of heart. A small goat with big dreams gets a once-in-a-lifetime shot to join the pros and play Roarball basketball, and is highly intense, co-ed, full-contact sport dominated by the fastest and fiercest animals in the world. This goat is inspired by a panther, Caleb McLaughlin, who plays Will Harris from Stranger Things, plays the title character, or the main character of Will, the goat. Has big dreams. It's like White Man Can't Jump meets dodgeball. Basically, the team that is trying the best and is faltering on their way to the big playoff game. And Gabrielle Union, she is the voice of Jet Fillmore. She is the lead, kind of the coach slash Michael Jordan of the team, and she plays a panther who's kind of a little bit past her prime and trying to see if there's enough gas in the tank to lead their team to a victory to get the Claw, which is the championship trophy for all their teams. Steven, yeah, I know it's really. This is a Sony Pictures animated film. And so when they do the action scenes, in fact, the whole film is done very much in a fast shutter speed type of way. And Dave, you're the filmmaker, so they have kind of that fast motion kind of thing going on with the animation. And it's very akin to Into the Spider-Verse, which was another Sony film. The animation's highly stylized, which I love. The art design is great. The animals have so much personality, and it all comes through in the eyes and the exaggerated paws and the different things that they have. So it has a look that is different than what I'm going to talk about with Hoppers in just a little bit. But what a great cast. Stephen Curry is in there. Of course, David Harbour, from Stranger Things and the Thunderbolts is in there as well. Jelly Roll, Jennifer Hudson, And yeah, there's just a bunch of really great Patton Oswalt's in it. So just an overall great cast of voice actors and a film that has heart. And it's a great film for the family when the kids turn to you and say, I want to see it again.
That's awesome. That's all, because I was going to say that the kids, if they loved it, that's what they normally say. They want to see it again, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And they're not, this is kind of their very first sports kind of movie. And in a long history of sports films, the underdog films, we've talked about Rudy and Rocky, The Karate Kid, those type of films where the underdog finally gets
Friday
their
Night
day.
Lights, right?
Friday Night Lights. I mean, it's a long history of that. This is in that same vein. So there's great layers of love, loss, and resurgence that happens. A great story arc for all the characters. It's a great ensemble. I can't recommend it enough. Go out of your way to see Goat, and you can thank me later.
Did you see it in the theaters?
Oh yeah.
Oh, fantastic! So you saw it on the big
now
screen.
you can also stream it. You can also stream it.
Yeah, but how'd the kids do in the movie theater?
Well, very good. Very good. I mean, yeah, if we see anything during the day, it's really good, because what happens is they tend to lose it around 4:00 in the afternoon.
Okay. All right. Good.
So how about Hoppers, Dave?
I haven't seen it, so tell me.
So by the way, let me go back to Goat. Goat gets a good 7, solid 7 out of me, 7 out of 10.
Okay.
And it scored well on IMDb as well. Speaking of solid scores, Hopper's also just as solid, right? So Hopper's a 19-year-old animal lover, uses technology that places her consciousness into a robotic beaver to uncover the mysteries within the animal world beyond her imagination. So maybe you've seen this story before, and we liken it to Avatar. They make no bones about it. They actually reference, it's kind of like Avatar, right? In the film. And maybe you've seen that kind of narrative before in movies like Pocahontas or Ghost in the Shell, or, like I said, Avatar, of course, being the biggest kind of reference that they make here. But it's funny. And the main character, who's played by Piper Curda. I've never heard of Piper Curda before, but she plays Mabel, the protagonist in the film. She is wanting to save the whole area where she grew up. This area is being developed. This kind of a marshland is being developed, and there's an interstate that's going to roll through it. And this evil developer / mayor is going to tear down this beaver town, if you will. And she's going to do her very best to stop it. She grew up there. They have a little sequence that's very much like Up, where she grew up without her parents. It's kind of a weird situation, so that's kind of sketch to me. But her grandmother raised her. She was a park ranger. She loved the forest and the forest animals. So all in all, she's there to help defend the habitat for these animals. And then she runs into the Beaver King in this avatar of a beaver, and it is the cutest thing you could ever see. The kids just light up. I lit up because they're adorable, and I can tell you that they did so many great things about it. And Dave, you were talking about Daniel Chong did a great job directing. Daniel's known for Baby Bears on Cartoon Network. He's done a lot of different things like Bolt. He's worked as an animator for Disney before and other things like that. So it's really fun, has a lot of heart. The animals and they're done in a very stylized way where they look like plush animals. And they're all squishy. They all have a lot of fun animation going on. So I can't recommend it enough. Hoppers is great, and it's not heavy-handed on the messaging, which is also very good.
All
Disney,
right.
keep it up. You can have those undertones, but don't beat people over the head with a stick and a broom about the overtones regarding that stuff. So I think they did really well on Hoppers, Dave.
All right.
Last but not least, I checked out a horror movie. What would be a great weekend without horror? Last week, I checked out Scream 7, and it was good. It was solid.
Okay.
Whistle is also a solid movie. A misfit group of unwitting high school students stumble upon a cursed object, an ancient Aztec death whistle, they discover that blowing the whistle and the terrifying sound it emits will summon future deaths to hunt them down.
Oh,
So it's a
no.
little bit, it's kind of like the cursed object film trope. You've seen it time and time again. It seems like it rolls around every single year. And of course, it happens in high school. These kids are avoiding death like Final Destination. Death is hunting them. And there's a little bit of a twist. And at the very end, everybody is okay, but not everybody comes out alive. And that's just that's the plain truth of it. It didn't have a high death count like Sisu 2, but it was very good, solid, and but not the best. It's a 6 for me. It's a 6 for me, but they did do a lot of things. They set it up with the premise. They had someone that could help them through and explain the situation, and then them trying to solve how to avoid death's door.
Okay.
Daphne Keene is the lead, and Daphne Keene played X-20. You remember her? She was the kid of Logan from Deadpool and Wolverine. She's back. She's a star. She is playing a junkie. She's trying to turn her life around. She just came back from rehab and is turning her life around in a new school. And all of her friends, or she's trying to make friends. And in doing so, that group of friends gets into a lot of bad situations because of this death whistle. So if you're into the kind of trinket trope horror film, teen angst in a high school, then this is for you.
Okay.
It's not bad, but I've seen it before. 6 out of 10 for me. And it was not a complete waste. It was good. Daphne Keene definitely is one to watch. She's great. So that is it for us. But let us know what you've been checking out. Feel free to email us and we'll check it out in a future episode.
Like me, they spend all their time studying pop culture that Halliday was obsessed with.
I'm really interested in what I like to call pop culture news.
Skull Rock Podcast. This week in Disney and pop culture.
All right, Dave. Project Hail Mary once again holds down number 1 for 51.1 million domestic box office, down 33%. But man, what an incredible run it's had.
It's a great,
yeah. Yes, you've mentioned that, and I love it. I can't wait to see it myself. $90 million plus globally. Hoppers continues to do well. $12.2 million over the weekend, and global, it's going to get over 500 million. I think this is one of the top animated performers this year. Congratulations, Disney. A movie that I think you mentioned last week, They Will Kill You. The horror comedy continues to get about 5 million, and they've got another 5 million in the bank from the previous week. And then reminders of him, Dramundar, The Revenge, Ready or Not 2, a couple of horror movies, and Holdovers, Scream 7, and Goat hold down the top 10 list. So, wow, a lot of horror movies, Dave. That's kind of weird for this time of year. But
yes, it is, isn't it?
It is very weird. Goat, of course, continues to dominate, man. It's doing really well. It's overall market post-March releases over 100 million. Goat is once again just really, really great. So we mentioned something about, what was it? Harry Potter, Dave. Have you checked out the latest Harry Potter? I think you talked about it last week, right?
I did check out the trailer for the latest Harry Potter series that's coming on HBO Max. And I gotta say, I was underwhelmed by the trailer.
Yeah, I am hopeful. I am optimistic for it. Now, you can check out the trailer right now. It's online. Please check it out. And they set a date, Christmas of 2026. So you're going to see it at the end of the year. And another drive, I'm sure, to get subscriptions up. They always have this great drive and special deals on Hulu and Amazon and HBO during the holidays so people can subscribe. And they think this is a great anchor point for them to see if they can get and latch on to a bunch of great subscribers at that point. So I think it's great. Dave, Disneyland Paris' second park was officially renamed Disney Adventure World this week.
Wow, how original.
Coinciding,
How original is that?
coinciding with the opening of Frozen Land, which nearly doubles the park size and adds new immersive experiences, including a Tangled-inspired attraction, multiple dining options, and a new nighttime spectacular on the lake. Dave, I'm sure you're very familiar with that with your work on World of Color.
Yes, Aljon, I do have to just interject here. Did you see the video of the crows, of the ravens attacking Rapunzel in the Tangled Tower at one of the parks? They ripped her hair off. So those birds have a very expensive nest.
It's so sad that Rapunzel got a bob because of those ravens. But I'm sure they're fixing that. And I believe that
without question. But those are one of those just bizarre things that nobody thinks about, and it happened.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But there was a lot of memes going around about Rapunzel's hair for sure. But yeah, I guess another move for Disneyland Paris. I mean, this is a very big expansion. Looking forward to seeing more parks, kind of get down and dirty and expand and get cracking there.
I haven't been at Paris Disneyland in a number of years, but the one thing I always loved about Paris Disneyland was the sort of steampunk overlay for Tomorrowland, which is really pretty fantastic.
Well, I love that as well. I think it suits it. I think what's troubling me is that Disneyland's Tomorrowland is such a shell of its former self, and it has been for like 20 years, Dave.
At the Southern California Disneyland.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I mean, look, they're ripe to redo some things there,
Yeah, it's well, we'll see what happens now that we have a new president of the parks and Josh is there. Maybe they're going to go full tilt and try to bring some new life to those lands.
What I think, the one thing I think that would be very cool to do in Tomorrowland at Disneyland in Southern California is to bring back, Rocket to the Moon. But update it with, the cutting edge technology, because, I mean, did you see the Artemis space launch? I mean,
I did.
It just felt to me like, the Apollo era. Where the excitement, where the whole country is standing as one, and everybody pauses for this massive rocket launch, and everybody is, following these 4 astronauts as they loop around the dark side of the moon and come back. And I just think, that kind of stuff is the stuff that Walt loved. And, I think it would be awesome if they did, Rocket to the Moon, revive it, to take the original concept and then say, what can we do to make this the most incredible, immersive experience? And by the way, put the rocket back into Tomorrowland.
My gosh, wouldn't that be great?
It'd be fantastic.
It would be fantastic. And I think first of all, we're back, baby. We're back in the space race. We've been out for so long. It's great to see Artemis 2. And by the time you listen to this, Artemis 2 might be going in front of the moon around maybe 2 or 3 in the afternoon in Central Time, at least my time. Maybe you'll be able to see it. But it is absolutely amazing what they're doing. And I think it would be great to bring that into Disneyland and kind of fix up a few things. I would love to see it. And you mentioned about Artemis 2, Dave. I mean, it just kind of, when you step back at it and you look at it, you just think to yourself, man, this is what humanity is all about. This is what
it really is. It's fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. And it is great to see. I can't wait to see the footage of the dark side of the moon and what they're doing in Artemis 2. But yes, I would agree. Let's put some of that energy back in Tomorrowland and fix it up. I'd love to see it. Speaking of Disney, Dave, Disney Plus rolled out the Chibi Tiny Tales Short Season 6, March Library Edition's ongoing Daredevil Born Again Season 2 episodes. Of course, I need to talk about Daredevil next week. which is going to be great. Apple TV's got For All Mankind season 5. So if you're into that, it is now there, premiering on Apple TV, Apple TV Plus, and Hulu has a new comedy called Mike, Nick, and Alice that is there. And then Dear Killer Nannies and Originals that they just premiered on Hulu. So please check that out. And Dave, since you're a Beatles fan,
yes,
Sir Paul, and the lead single Days We Left Behind, marking a fresh new chapter in his solo career. I love it. Can't believe how prolific is Paul McCartney to be releasing music this late in his life, but I'm glad he's doing it.
You know what? I think that these musicians that are constantly engaged with their fans, that are out there touring and performing wherever, and it's not about the money for them. Certainly not for Paul McCartney. In fact, his latest tour, he's doing smaller venues.
Yeah.
You know, he's doing like 12 and 1,500 seat auditoriums. You know, I mean, he could fill Dodger Stadium, but he's doing more intimate locations, which I think is really great for the fans. And it gives him more of a personal connection to the fans where he can actually see people, you know, and it's not just a sea of, you know, shapes.
Exactly. No, I think he likes that personal connection. And I think his career coming full circle. I mean, this is kind of where the Beatles started, you know?
Yeah.
And it's great to see him do that. He seems so down to earth. And it's one of the artists that I work with that I don't actually talk to him. I work through a series of proxies like his management company or whatever, but I don't talk to him. But man, I wish I did. It would be so cool. But check out the latest from Paul McCartney coming at the end of the month, or at the end of May, rather.
And by the way, I know people in the animation business because Sir Paul was trying to do some animated projects, you know, and I've talked to some people who interacted with him where he visited their animation facility. And, you know, they said he couldn't have been nicer, you know, it just couldn't have been a nice guy.
You know, just the working class Englishman,
There you go.
And you just couldn't take that out of him. That's great that he's like that.
Yeah.
Skull Rock Podcast.
You know, you're like that little arrow on your hat, straight and shining, and that's the way I'll always remember you.
I'll always remember you.
I'll always remember you.
I'll always remember you, Sharon.
They hang you, I'll always remember you.
In memoriam.
All right, Dave, here we are. Complications from Alzheimer's disease took the life of Mary Beth Hurt, Tony-nominated stage and screen actress known for collaborations with such directors like Martin Scorsese and her husband Paul Schrader. She brought depth to films such as The World According to Garp, featuring Robin Williams, and Broadway productions. Dave, Mary Beth Hurt, rest in peace.
Yeah, she had a very prolific career. She was in some notable films, and it's always sad to see people go. I mean, 79 is young, and also to have Alzheimer's that young, it's robs you of your memories. You know, it's terrible.
So sad. Yeah, that's a horrible way to go.
Yeah.
But Mary Beth Hurt, rest in peace.
Yes.
As we take a beat, let's now prepare for our main event once again for part 3. Back yet again. It is an awesome time with Tim and Jerry, the Tim and Jerry Show. Tim Landry and Jerry Rees talks Imagineering and so much more right here on Skull Rock Podcast.
Let's do it.
Hey, let's chat.
Let's chat afterwards. Let's chat. And he said, let's chat again.
Well, Aljon, we are back for week 3 with Tim Landry, visual effects supervisor and all-around cool dude, and Jerry Rees, who I would spend 10 minutes giving all of the producer, director, writer, animator, story artist. I could keep going on and on. Toaster guy, who's been on the show before with us. Guys, welcome back to Skull Rock Podcast.
Thank you. It's fun.
Hey, last week we kind of ended a little bit. Well, I don't know if we really ended. I want to wrap up.
We ran out of time.
We did. We ran out of time. Okay, good way to put it. We were talking about Mystic Manor, Soren in Tokyo, Cinemagique in Paris. And I want to kind of just wrap up that bunch of projects that we discussed by saying, can you add a little stinger to this, as well as, who else was involved and what awards did these projects win? Because they all won stuff.
Right. Well, first off, I want to mention that Ethan Reed had a lot to do with building the mythology of that space, Albert, and just Lord Mystic and everything about that place. So when I was invited to come into the world with Tim, Ethan had built a great deal of it for us to go play inside.
We love Ethan. Ethan was a past guest here on the Skull Rock podcast.
And let's see. Well, let me bring up my list here of awards that we won together. So Mystic Manor won a Thea Award, and it was also a Visual Effects Society nominee. I think that was a first.
Jerry, can you just mention, just for our listeners, what is a Thea Award?
Themed Entertainment Association has an event that is like the Oscars.
It's the Oscar for theme parks, right?
For theme parks worldwide. And so, a number of times Disney obviously is involved many times with it, but it is not exclusively Disney. It's all themed entertainment all over the world competing. And so, when our teams win the awards, it's really fun. So that was one, Mystic Manor winning the Thea. And then Cinemagique, also the Thea Award for Outstanding Achievement on an Attraction. And let me see, Animation Magic. Now, this was a fun one.
Well, now we haven't really talked about Animation Magic.
Okay.
So before
it was a Thea Award winner.
Okay, but before we get into that one, anything more on the projects we discussed over the last two episodes?
Well, gosh, I just wanted to make sure that I wanted to make sure that people understood that with something like Cinemagique, there was all kinds of technology we put into it, but we really learned the lesson that every time we'd have a screening, the moment that the romance bloomed and there was commitment, people would just cheer as louder than all the visual effects. So it just taught us once again that heart is the point.
You have to have a story with heart to it.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's talk about Animation Magic, because it is, I think, a rare moment here at Skull Rock where not only have both guests worked on it, but your lovely co-host here, Dave. I worked with you guys on that.
Yeah.
So Jerry, let's start with what was the sort of the seed that was planted? How did this Animation Magic come about?
Well, you have to go back like 15 years earlier, and I was experimenting trying to take a single drawing and make it move. So I talked to some people. They said you should be using After Effects in the early days. And so for years and years, I was attempting to do something where it would be some version of The Secret Life of Graffiti. And I thought, what would it be like if you didn't have an animation team redraw somebody's art, but you just said, hey, you do drawing, and then your drawing would come to life. So I would experiment with scanning all the pieces of the character and then manipulating them to make them move. And so I'd been experimenting with that and trying to build stories around it. And there were several times it almost became a series. But after like a decade goes by, people were telling me like, what are you doing? Like, why are you still pursuing that? And I kept thinking there's got to be a place, because it feels like magic. And I got a call from Tom Fitzgerald, and he and the team said, hey, there's this place. We need something magical to happen there. And so we wanted to pick your brain about that. So I went in and took a look, and oh my gosh, it was supposed to be people being in like they had gone back in time to the classic era of the Disney animation department. So it was the Art Deco, beautiful furniture and everything. And it's like, what could happen here? And I went, how about if your drawings come to life? And so I showed them footage. I didn't tell them it was 10-year-old footage.
Yeah.
I just showed them some footage of animation. They went, wow, that's really special. So then I asked them to do drawings. And I took it home. The next day I brought in drawings done by the Imagineering team. And they got to see their own drawings and their kids' drawings and stuff come to life. And so, man, people just got hooked on it. I even tried an experiment where I took Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins, where he's dancing with the penguins. And this was not easy. I didn't have an algorithm to do it. I just by hand erased the penguins, put the background behind it, etc., and then put people's drawings dancing with Dick Van Dyke in that classic scene. And so, man, people got hooked and wanted to do it. So
now I got to ask you: was it when they first came to you? Did they say we have this restaurant and we need to do something special for it, or was it we want to do something special? We're not sure how it's going to fit into the ship.
They said usually, of course, always we want to do like think of a magic moment and then build the world around it. But this is a rare case where you're building a ship and it's just happening, and they're cutting steel and they're making spaces, and so it was an unusual thing where it's like the world is happening before the story.
Yeah.
And it's like, how could it feel like it was just meant to be? And for you to feel like, oh, of course you started with the story and it became that place. So that was a rare thing because, I could go back in my own history, and there were some others of us that were from that same era, the CalArts class, the first year we come in, we still see the desk sitting there that Frank and Ollie used. I got to actually sit at Ollie Johnson's desk as soon as he went upstairs to do the book.
Jerry, I think we should bring our guests up to speed in that Animation Magic was a dinner show in a restaurant on a ship of the Disney Cruise Line. I'm not sure we made that clear to the game.
Yeah, but I guess the question is, before it became a show in a restaurant on the cruise ship, it was going to be for the cruise ship, but was it always going to be for a restaurant?
No. When I designed it, I tried all kinds of things. I did graffiti coming to life. I did people like going in to do just a tag on a wall when they're in a restaurant. And it's like they by the payphone or something, and people going like, oh, who left that graffiti? But then it could talk with like the id being their own voice. So it was just wanting to be some invention of where it would make sense for people's drawings to come to life. And so it exists entirely outside of the idea of restaurant or ship or anything, in my mind, as just this wonderful magic that could live somewhere. And people were telling me it will never find a home. So when they called me and brought me in and said, here's a home and it needs a magic moment, it was the marriage of like, for years, this has been trying to find a home. Boom, there it is. Finally, it's like, oh my God, I could imagine the character sitting there and looking around the ship at all these beautiful Art Deco desks and going, I was born here, dude. It's like, this is my place.
I mean, it almost feels as though, well, first off, the thing I would say is there's persistence of vision. You had a vision and you were persistent with it. It also feels like it needed to have the right moment in time when the technology caught up to be able to do what you wanted to do.
Yes, and the thing that was always I was obsessing over, because, I came up in animation and then I jumped onto Tron and I was introducing computers into the mix and everything. But the thing that I was obsessed with that was the authenticity someone would feel, the proof of the magic, if you left their drawing there. Right. So if it was like they did a little scribble, or originally I was going, well, even if you had paint on a wall and somebody scratched into it with a key, like, but that could come to life. It's like it would really be authentically proving to that person, to everyone else, that this moment of magic had really happened, that you didn't cheat and have an animation team pretend their drawing came to life. That would be their drawing, and when you draw it and a few moments later it's moving, that's the authentic fingerprint you have on it as the guest. To me, that was the magic, is to have you feel like my stuff went into that show.
So at what point did they say we have to do this, and when did you bring Tim into it?
It was like within 3 or 4 days. We all just, I fell in love with the home for it. They fell in love with the magic moment. we all related it back to that core thing of, the decoration in that restaurant was hearkening back to the heartbeat of Disney, how everything was born in beautiful animation there. And thankfully the furniture was just as beautiful with those wonderful Art Deco stuff.
I'm
So
not
it just
sure
all
you were
seemed right.
aware, Jerry. I'm not sure you were
Yeah.
aware. They brought me in to do basically a polish on the design of that whole restaurant.
Wow, cool.
All the layouts of all the nooks and crannies and the server stations and all that. Somehow they
That's great.
nominated me to do the design on that stuff, and it was quite an
Isn't
honor.
that funny? That's like fate was bringing us together again. That's awesome. And then, gosh, another thing that they needed was in that space, before that magic happens and the screens, there's many, many screens in that restaurant, by the way. So if you're sitting with your friends, and this is quite a trick, and we can get into more of this later, but there's a lot of people that can sit there. So if 700 people are drawing and your drawing is somewhere among the 700 and you're looking around, where's mine? It could be very frustrating. So, we curated and had the drawings that were done by the people sitting at a table, like appear near them. So you could be guaranteed that you would see you and your family and your friends' stuff. But the rest of the time before that happened, there were it needed to be other things on display that would make sense for the space. And I was so excited. I got to curate a show that had never been done for Disney before. I said, well, we're in a restaurant. It'd be great to tell the story of food and restaurants. So starting with everything I could find in Disney storytelling about planting seeds and then growing the crops and then harvesting and baking and then enjoying the food and then the restaurants and all the way to tea and dessert at the end. And to have that curated into one continuous show about that story was just great fun.
Did you use anything from Food Will Win the War?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
So the question is, did Food Will Win the War or use anything else from it?
So the next logical question is, they want to do this. You find out that it's going to be in this restaurant on a new cruise ship, and what's your next step? You start storyboarding out because there was a pre-show and an after show, right, and all of that, right?
Well, it had to make sense. Yeah. So of course, but we thought, well, what if Mickey uses his sorcerer's hat to make the drawing come alive? So what if that's the magical force going on in the restaurant? Yeah. And so we thought, well, at the beginning, if you come in and you sit down and the wait help says, hey, Mickey really needs your input. He's like creating characters and he needs your thinking, your magic, and gives you something to draw with and just pins of all different colors and stuff. And you sit there and go, oh, the head goes here and the body goes here and the arms, here's the hands I'm going to make. And you just draw this little thing. And so at the beginning of your meal, you've done that.
That was another thing that they gave me to do, by the way, Jerry, is I ended up designing that placemat.
Great.
And the placemat has a template on it that shows you the head goes in this area, the arms go in this area, and the rest of the body.
Right.
So it can basically become a puppet.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, again, I know a lot of our listeners have probably experienced the show on the cruise ship, but just for those who haven't, you would sit down at dinner in the restaurant on the ship, and you'd have a placemat in front of you, and you would have.
You'd start by doing drawings.
Were there crayons on the table?
There were pins. I think it was mainly pins they chose, markers.
Yeah,
and different colors.
And the guest would do the drawing if they wanted to. Yeah. There was no pressure. You didn't have to.
Yeah. Although, you know what? I must say, I got fun stories back. I remember Joe Cicero told me that he took some people on board and they felt very intimidated when they thought, oh, I'm going to do a drawing. I can't draw. And he went, go ahead. It's fine. Anything. A stick figure is great. So sometimes these executives in a tie would be like struggling to do some little stick figure and like, oh, I'm terrible. And the audience would cheer more for the little stick figure once it was dancing, because we went through phases with the show where first Mickey comes alive. You see a drawing of him and he starts to animate. You see papers flip. He comes alive. He gets full color. Then he takes one of the placemats and shows it to you. I need you to draw here. Later, you see an animated Mickey come back with a stack of the drawings that are supposed to be from the audience. And they really are a collection of the drawings that people have done. And one by one, he conjures them, and in the same way that he conjured the little brooms in Fantasia. So he conjures one at a time, pulls the drawing off the surface, then gets it to march. So it's following him to the Sorcerer's Apprentice music. Instead of the brooms marching, it's your drawings marching. And I purposely started them out really stiff, and people are like, oh, that's cute. And then had them get a little bit more expressive, and then the music would change, and then they would be like ice skating and then doing dynamic things and marching really bold and stuff. And they're like, wow, my drawing's getting more and more capable. And then suddenly the genie would appear from Aladdin, and then their drawings would be dancing with the genie. And I was like, oh my God, the audience would just go nuts because it was a whole new level. Now they're in the movies. Yeah. So now it was many, many scenes where I went through and found candidates to add people's characters in. So like one example was Pinocchio dancing to I've Got No Strings. And so we had to sort of widen the scene slightly to make room, and then had characters dancing right next to him that people had drawn doing the little dance that they had no strings either. And so we found many candidates. Another one that was very tricky, and Dave, you helped me with this in a huge way. I was very impressed. Snow White was dancing with the dwarves where they had been stacked up. And yes, you deserve praise. But, I would do test versions of these things. For most of the scenes, I would find the scene and then I would do a rough erasure and then show how the drawing would fit in. So I did those in After Effects animation to go, here's the idea. So you would then take it and go, okay, now I'm going to make it the pristine, beautiful version that will fit up on a big screen. You'd go back to the original elements. Well, in that scene, and you can explain what you did with it, but I was faced with this nice dance with Snow White and your character. And then they would get to the edge of the scene and there was half of Grumpy sitting at the organ playing.
Yes.
And it was just cut off. And it was very uncomfortable with our format of our screen to have just half the character.
Yeah.
So you did this magic thing. Tell them what you did.
No. What we did was we had been working with the original animation from Snow White, and the Grumpy, what you're talking about, Grumpy playing at the organ, he's partially cut off. We just went in and completed the drawings.
Well, you told me what I hadn't thought of. It made perfect sense. You said, the animator did not animate half of Grumpy.
No.
So
of course,
the rough animation drawing, he's there.
The rough was there, and partial cleanup out of frame was still there. Some of the drawings weren't completely finished off, but it wasn't a big deal to finish them off. And by the way, when I talk like this, we're not touching the original drawings. We're not finishing original drawings. No. We're using copies of those drawings
as a guide.
As a guide, and we're doing new cleanup on it. But yeah, I mean, that was what was so great about doing these types of projects at Disney, was because they had this vast archive, this animation research archive that we could go into and say, yes, that's a half a Grumpy or a 3/4 of a Grumpy, but we can go in and make that complete and make it.
And it's nice that you weren't just guessing. I love that you went back and respected the original animator.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
That's so cool. And I think people would hear it and they might assume, oh, you just guessed and finished it, and that's kind of a betrayal.
No.
Didn't happen. You went back and checked the original roughs where the full character's sitting there.
And got copies of the original drawings.
Yes.
And re-registered them and did all of the stuff that we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
And laid fresh paper over those, Xeroxes of the drawings and recleaned it.
Did you ink and paint the whole sequence or just certain frames?
As I recall, I think that we went in, if I'm not mistaken, and we just re-inked digitally inked and painted the new drawings with Grumpy and used the existing background, essentially compositing over what was already there.
Okay.
But now it's complete.
The other nice thing about the archives is you know what colors go there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Without question. But as I recall, I think we may have done a digital extension of the background, finishing it
Yep.
off, So again, it's all seamless. You can't tell, and it
And the main
works.
point is it's in service of your drawing, stepping into that world and having an interaction with classic characters. So that's what you're focused on. But I was so happy that you went to the trouble to respect the authenticity of the original work as we did at tweaks like that.
Yeah, that blew my mind too, Dave.
I think you have to, though, Jerry, because what our philosophy, or at least mine was in special projects, was we always wanted to deliver as authentic as we could something that the audience may not have seen before. Like we did this for World of Color with the Thumper on ice, Thumper and Bambi's trying to skate on the pond. It's a series of scenes that are cutting back and forth. And we went in and took all of those drawings and did some bridge animation and created one long scene of Thumper and Bambi trying to skate on ice.
Nice.
And by doing that, you're delivering the audience something that's familiar to them, but they hadn't seen it this way before.
You're looking a little deeper into the magic.
Yeah. And I think that was the thought process behind Grumpy, at the organ, because everybody was like, "Oh, darn, there's only half of them there." Well, we could take care of that. Don't worry about it.
It's as if it was the animation version of live action dailies that you just went back to the original take. And didn't chop it up like in a regular movie.
Exactly. So anyway, I'm sorry. That was a little sort of an aside there, but this is all about you guys. Come on, let's get back into the saddle.
Well, that was so fun, and it just that really taught me, be patient, hold on to your dream, because I'll tell you, there were so many times with different teams trying to get that off the ground, the idea of drawings coming to life, and finally, it just found exactly the sweet spot to exist. And it's like, well, that should always have been there. It's just nice.
It was the right time for that project.
And the right place and the right people.
But to me, the drive behind it is the passion and the vision you had and the persistence. That's the word that our listeners need to hear. Persistence. You come up with an idea. It might not be the right time, but be persistent in bringing that forward, because you will find the right time.
And you know what? This was more the right time than what I wanted to do before, because what I was envisioning before was a series that you would have seen. And, yes, the person on the series was authentically doing a drawing, and you see that happen, but to hand it out to all of us so that we could go on the ship one day and we can do our own drawing, and in real time it happens, that was way better implementation of it. And what I have to tell you is that when Joel and Sister was talking about the people who were very self-conscious about, I can't draw, and they would do a little stick figure, and then they would be so delighted to see it in these classic things, dancing with classic characters, and the audience cheering it on their little stick figure. And Joe said they were using words like, I felt empowered, I felt creative, I felt brave. It's like suddenly they felt that and that's something that you couldn't feel if you were just seeing it on a series. It let everybody participate.
Should we sort of give our listeners a little peek behind the curtain on how this was being done?
Sure.
Because, why don't we start with the actual process of taking a guest drawing, even if it was a scribble by a 3-year-old.
And there are plenty of those.
So when you come into the restaurant on the ship, you're seated at your table, and before you is the placemat, and you're just instructed to do a drawing if you want to. And then once that drawing's done, it's before you even order, isn't it?
Yes. And it's Mickey's invitation. You see Mickey on it. He's inviting you, and it's because he wants characters. He needs characters to create with. So it's very inviting. And you're encouraged to do that because he needs it for the magic that's about to happen. So you feel a sense of anticipation with it.
And so once you've done the drawing, there's a cast member on board who's going to collect that from you.
Mm-hmm.
And what do they do with those once they're collected?
Well, they scan every single one into a computer.
So that's done backstage. They go into the kitchen, so to speak.
Well, yes, it was a very crowded space in the first ship that it went on to, where people had to, as they're bringing food out to the tables, had to get squeezed past the person that was scanning. So it was very pushed. Though you know how tight the ships are backstage.
Yeah, absolutely.
So somebody is heroically tending to that. And also part of the process was just like check through, hundreds of drawings and just make sure there's nothing that's untoward that's going to make it through.
Let me just stop you there. Were there people drawing inappropriate images?
I do not know that for a fact, but I know that we anticipated that was likely to happen sometime.
So the person scanning really had to be the person who was policing it.
As they come up as scans on the screen and like they've done the job, then it's like it would be too much to look at each piece of paper. But I think they have the stack; it's going in. But as they come up, it's like, oh, flag that one.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was anticipating that could happen, but then backstage it was getting then rendered into the scenes that we had prepared, where we had done the beautiful preparation of the scenes where we would take out, make sure we created a spot for them to exist.
So let me ask Tim, what was, how are these drawings once they're scanned and there's a digital image of them? What's happening with those drawings? They're getting mapped onto some geometry, right?
Yeah, correct. They went on into a 3D environment. I was not involved in this, but they went into a 3D environment where they got individually mapped onto the pieces of a pre-choreographed animation.
That was Ken Duncan and his group. I got to give them a big shout out.
Yeah.
Ken Duncan himself animated Mickey coming to life in very much a Freddie Moore style.
Correct.
And then his team did this thing where I would have done in some cases animation to show how the characters might move. They essentially did a 3D, if you imagine taking a bunch of sheets of flat surface, like all the different pieces of your drawing, and put them into a 3D space where they can warp and bend. It's kind of like an invisible character wearing your drawing as pajamas.
Right. Exactly.
So the invisible character is already doing fantastic animation. It's doing something timid, something bold, and then something expressive and sad and heroic and all that stuff. So the invisible character is already doing the performance, and one by one, it's like your drawing is dropped over it, so it can wear your drawing.
And so essentially, once a guest drawing is scanned, it's mapped onto this pre-created animation. That you don't see because that's invisible, but your drawing is moving because it's mapped to those surfaces.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
And then
I actually have I don't know if you're set up to share anything, but I have.
You see, so at this point in time, we're doing audio and video. So if you're going to show something, I'm going to give you permission. Hold on a second.
I have the genie scene.
Okay. So
then this is the preview.
Hold on one second, because I'm going to give you.
All right.
So you have permission, and I don't think we can use the sound.
Okay. I will do it just for the moment, and then you can decide later if you'd like to do it. But because the sound is really
okay. All right.
Here we go.
I don't know. We might get. I don't know.
I posted on YouTube and did not get any pushback from.
Okay. We'll give it a shot
because it's so short.
Give
So
it a
short.
shot. Well, I'm always willing to dance up to the line.
All right, here we go. So you should be able to see it now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, here we go.
Mama. No.
So there you go.
That's awesome. I think that's just fabulous, And you look at those drawings, and it's sort of typical of somebody who's doesn't consider themselves to be an artist, that's just trying to scribble something out. They're almost childlike.
But
yeah, they have a charm.
When you see them doing that that committed movement, so they're really matching the genie's movements, then no matter what your drawing looks like, it works great.
And the guests just get an incredible charge out of it.
Yeah, and that's the moment that you first realize you're going to dive into the actual films, because before then it's just been your drawings alone with Mickey doing different expression, but that's the moment where suddenly, boom, you're in the movies.
Yeah.
I was privileged to be in the first audience preview on the Disney Dream. We actually installed it on the Disney Dream just for a test screening because it ultimately did not live on the Dream. It lived on another ship.
Right.
And it got a standing O. I mean, the people just went crazy.
Yeah.
And then we also took the, when they would do the drawing, they would sign their name and put their stateroom. And so on the end credits, it would be all their names as they wrote them.
And did they get their drawings back, or were the drawings just discarded?
I don't remember, Tim.
They get them back. They're a souvenir.
They are. Okay.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Then I heard people, I don't know if they ever pulled this off, but I heard a very clever thing that guests were doing, which was trying to get a blank template before they went on the ship to sit at home and do some really elaborate drawing and then bring it in and hand a pre-done elaborate drawing to map it in. So I would love to see some of that too, in addition to the squiggles, the sophisticated.
I'd love to talk to the cast member who's scanning to tell us some of the unacceptable images that were popping up.
I'm sure he's got his cabin papered with them.
Because when you've got thousands and thousands of people going through that kind of an experience, there's always going to be some bad apples, bad actors. You know what I mean?
Well, I can give you an idea of nothing untoward, but some other drawings doing the genie moment, if you'd like to do one more share.
Go ahead. Let's do a share.
We just did a fun thing where we went, what would it be like to just have all different kinds of drawings in there? So this was part of our test. So you'll see the same beginning, but it will continue with a dance off. Don't let the repetition of the music drive you crazy. Here we go.
Mama. No. Mama. No.
So the big eyeball.
Wow. And it's amazing.
A little squiggly. See, no head drawing, but it works great.
It does. It's
There's a little flower.
Yeah.
Disconnected, but it works great. Look at that.
It just goes to show you that when you
look at that one. No, hardly any head and just like weird hands, but it's awesome.
When you have good animation timing, really any type of drawing really it works. It's amazing.
Got the little panda. Love the panda.
Yeah.
I think we're coming up on the. It's so minimalist, but it works great. All right.
Yeah, and those were the kind of tests that you really had to do because there was always those what ifs. What if somebody just did a
how is it breaking?
And that proved to us that even if you did disconnected pieces or just did little eyeballs and didn't do any of the rest of the head, it would still work.
It still worked. I guess we're starting to bump up against time for this episode, but what was the ultimate outcome of Animation Magic once it was installed? It obviously was a hit, and you tipped your hand at the very beginning because it did win a Thea Award. We all got
Yes.
Thea trophies, which was wonderful. What else happened with that?
And it was, the Thea was for ingenious use of technology. So all of us got a kick out of that. You know, I heard a lot of discussion that there was a desire to put it other places, to put it on land and put it in restaurants that were in the parks and stuff. So I don't know if they'll get around to that, but it's certainly something we all jabbered about, how much fun it would be to have a little more elbow room and put it more places.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, that seems like it would be something you could do in the, the animation attraction in Disney's California Adventure, and actually have a load of guests come in and do, a serious drawing, so like, teach them how to draw one of the Disney classics and get them scanned in and see them marching along on a screen as the payoff.
And then once you're in a facility that has more elbow room, you can do things like have people walk down a hall after they're done and their own character walks beside them and just matches their movements. You're like, oh, it's
Well,
kind of
speaking
fun.
of which, I went to a sort of a museum presentation in Tokyo and some installation trip that we were there. Purely a pleasure thing to see what's going on in the media world. And they actually had a sort of incarnation of animation magic where kids were sitting around at tables filling in a template drawing fish. And they hand their drawings in, and there was this huge wall with multiple tiled projections of a big undersea scene, and all these kids' drawings were moving around on the big screen. So I just wondered, where did they get that idea?
Yes. We've seen that happen occasionally.
Well, that's, I mean, imitation is the best form of flattery, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Well, there you go. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up this episode because this was a great discussion about animation magic and giving our listeners a little peek behind the scenes. And for those of you who are listening on the podcast, just audio, check us out on our YouTube, the Skull Rock YouTube channel, and you'll be able to see some of the examples Jerry was pulling up to show us. With that, guys, I'm going to say thank you for being on the Skull Rock podcast for week 3 with us.
Thanks, Dave.
And we will see you again next week because I want to wrap up our conversation with you in episode 4 next week. So we'll see you then.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Let's get out of here!
Come on, Scotty, let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here, Lieutenant.
The stories continue with Tim and
Yeah,
Jerry.
and it's always great, as I say, to hear the stories behind the scenes. And I will just tell you, working with both Tim and Jerry over the years has been nothing short of joyful. They're just wonderful individuals, and I got to work with Jerry on a number of projects, throughout my career, and he's just a super talented guy. He's also just somebody who's very even keeled. It's you can't really fluster Jerry too much,
Love it.
as much as I've tried, and, but he really is. Both of them are just terrific individuals, and it was just great working with them. So I'm so glad they're able to come back and talk with us and tell some of the behind the scenes stories.
I love it. I love it. All right, gang. Well, here we are, man. Looking forward to next week. I think they're going to be back in the hot seat. I can't believe it. Next week, Tim and Jerry will conclude with an awesome final installment. Gang, if you love Disney and pop culture, please subscribe to the show everywhere you listen. Everywhere you listen. You can also check us out on YouTube, as Dave mentioned earlier in the show. Subscribe to that feed. Also, check out our shorts. We've got a bunch of I say that all the time as I check out our shorts, our short video content. just to make sure that, we have a little clarification there. But check out the YouTube channel. Check out everywhere you listen and stream the podcast, video podcast on Spotify. So many different places. Subscribe, like us, share us. We're on all the social media platforms as well. You can check out our archive of shows. Man, there's like 280 plus episodes of our show. There's skullrockpodcast.com. You can also follow me, Aljon Go, on Instagram, and that's where you'll find me talking about guitars and this podcast and cats and adoption of cats and children. You never know. There's a bunch of really cool stuff you can check out there in my social. And then you can also check out my other podcast, Dining at Disney. We launch a show every single week. Great video content in there as well. There at Dining at Disney. Check it out everywhere you listen to podcasts. And also, lastly, a huge shout out to our friends at Source Radio for helping promote the show, srsounds.com. All Disney music all day long at srsounds.com.
Well, Aljon, if you're going to check out my shorts, you better be wearing heavy-duty industrial gloves. You
got
it. Well, folks, this is it. I will not be talking about this topic any further after this show, because this coming week, it's Animation Y'all Expo in Nashville. Woo-hoo. I'm going to be there with Aljon in person at the Animation Y'all Expo in Nashville, April 10th to the 12th. I don't even know if you could still get tickets. You could try. It's been the tickets have been flying off. That's all I could say. So we'll be there. I'll be signing books. Steve Anderson, who wrote Disney In Between, is going to be there signing books. We're going to have signed editions from Bob Weiss and other authors. So I hope you swing by. If you're going to be there, swing by and say hello. Also, you can hear me monthly on the Tunes Behind the Tunes on Sirius XM, Disney Hits, Channel 133. During the month of April, I am spotlighting the song, The World's Greatest Criminal Mind, from Disney's 1986 animated classic, The Great Mouse Detective, and that's performed by Vincent Price, the great actor, the great horror actor, Vincent Price. And by the way, The Great Mouse Detective is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. So there you go.
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. I worked on that film 40 years ago. Can you imagine that? It's just absolutely crazy. Also, you can get signed copies of my books. Look, if you're not going to be at the Animation Expo, you can still get signed copies of my books and other authors' books at the oldmillpress.com, including the recently released The Art of John Canemaker, An Animator's Garden by John Canemaker, and A Spoonful of Sugar, the story of the Upjohn Pharmacy in Disneyland by Stephen Hall. That's right, Drugs at Disneyland. You can get an autographed copy of that book. And you can always go to davidbossert.com. There's plenty of free content. There's stuff you can send away for. You can get signed book plates, bookmarks, coasters, you name it. Just check out davidbossert.com. And with that, Aljon, I am going to say go out and have a fantastic day, a fantastic week ahead, and we will see you back here next Monday right here on the Skull Rock Podcast.